Well, hello all you beautiful internet peeps out there on the interwebs. This is Tashlan and Charlie the dog, Puddon Anpye the pussycats, welcoming you to Prison Architect. And I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm actually recording the audio separate from the video. And this is because I had a major league hiccup with my sound. And although it recorded the sound, it's at a very, very low volume. And I don't feel comfortable putting out low quality work, in all honesty. So I thought the easiest way to fix this would be to do the audio. So what I'm doing is I'm actually watching the video and then doing the audio over it. So it might appear a little bit disjointed because I'm trying to follow what I've done. So do bear with me, and I do apologize for this. I think this is where we're kind of focusing on where you can see the dog is sniffing up something. So I decided to do a shakedown, and in the hopes of finding the source of obviously that sort of tunneling sound that the dog is finding. I'm then checking to see if, what I'm doing with my workshops there. And this is where I kind of discover, oh, you can assign jobs, which I didn't know that you had to do that with workshops. I don't know why I didn't know that. But there I am plopping in all of the jobs for the different workshops. And I actually discovered this when I was looking for something else. So, yeah, sometimes derping works. And I know I recorded this on a very, very hot day. So I was being very chatty about how hot it was and how I've got ice cubes in the dog's bowl and in the cat's bowl, and ice frozen drinks for me as well. And nice things, you can have lollies, which was good. And this is where I was checking that everything was assigned to each different category. And I discovered here that the reception it should be neutral. And then I thought, no, it should actually just be access only, really. They should come in, do their thing and get assigned. And so I changed that. I didn't realize it had been set to minimum security. So otherwise, that looked quite good. And every now and then you can see that I'm checking why some of the cameras aren't working and noticing that there's not staffed. And then I was also, you can see I'm looking here at the different prisoners, and I can't understand why I've only got 77. I've got one intake and I've got 86. And I realized what it is I've got 8 parent capacity, and I have to have that because I need to have family cells just in case. But if I don't have any mothers and babies, then those cells will remain unoccupied. So this was an interesting thing that I found out with a women's prison, that you do actually end up with this little bit of wasted space in a way. So I find that quite an interesting challenge. So I was quite happy with that. I noticed I was making quite a loss in money, and I was also trying to look through all of the programs here because I wanted to add the general education qualification, and it wasn't doing it. At the time, I couldn't understand why, but I did work out later that it's because I didn't have the funds for it. So that was something that, I learned, which I thought was really, really interesting, because I was like clicking away and it's not letting me doing it. And it was a very simple solution is, well, no, you can't spend money you don't have. So I'm sitting there trying to find out what I can do, and not even noticing that we're in quite a terrible deficit. And so I was trying to work things out. I'm looking here now at the classrooms to see, no, the classrooms are fine. There's nothing wrong with the classrooms. So why isn't it allowing me this general education here? It took me a while to cotton on, I'll be honest. I think round about now I'm sort of looking to plan, because we've got to do the cell block C, and I was trying to think where we're going to do it, because this bottom bit here that I'm gesturing here to now is, I was thinking where we can do our death row cell, because we can do death row on this. We've researched it. Oh, and that dratted tunnel, never did find it, I have to tell you. It's like, drat, that dog is smelling something there and we just can't find it. It was here that I thought, oh, well, we can do the tasers. I also look at the legal side, and there's execution liability there, offshore tax haven, legal defense, these things we haven't researched yet. But there's a couple of them we can't afford quite yet either. So I was thinking, oh, the tax haven might be nice. So that's a potential that we're going to look at. But I did go for the execution liability. And then it was to plan out cell block C, which I'm wanting to make into a minimum security. But I'm also going through all the things that we will need for it. You know, obviously we're going to still need a nursery, an infirmary, a cleaning cupboard. Trying to think, I couldn't remember them when I was recording this. Common room, visitation, kitchen and canteen, and I've also got to sort out. Here we go. Trying to get money together. Noticing that we didn't have any deaths or escapes, which is nice. And it's so difficult to try and think what you were rambling on about a couple of days ago, isn't it? I'm like, okay, just make it up as you go along. You can do this. This was it. This is actually where I sped it up. I was just waiting for the sun to come up, and then I'm going to pause it so that I can do my planning, because this is the only sort of gripe that I have with this game, is that when it's nighttime, it is dark. And I just can't see what's going on there. Maybe other people can, and it's maybe how I've got my computer set up or whatever it is. I'm not necessarily blaming it on the game. It could just be me. But yes, that is a problem that I have. So here I'm sort of deciding, this is just the space with which I have to work. So, because I said this is going to be death row, and I was also thinking, do I need to leave space to put in some, utilities, so our electricity, how we're doing on that. And I think I decided that bottom one was going to be fine. And look, all that sniffy. And then, of course, I'm kind of going, oh, I wish he'd see it. And then I realised, I've got it on pause. That's why it's not going away. So yes, I had a nice derp moment there, and it just shows you that I really don't mind sharing my derps, because I'll admit to them. So I decided, we'll put the door there, because I was trying to look for where we've got our prisoners coming in, so we want to keep the minimum distance for them to have to walk. And this is interesting. We've got a parade of about 5 or 6 lawnmowers, council lawnmowers going past. So off they go. I'm sure you can hear that. This is my life. Never a dull moment. It's about time they mowed the verges and everything else. It's getting overgrown. And okay, so there I'm looking to see minimum sizes for an infirmary. I believe that's the first one that I sort of planned, because that's the easiest. So I'd put a corridor here, and what else did I do? Yes, I was counting out there the size of the beds, which because they're 4x4 size. So I was just plotting it out, and I find that putting in the objects and things like this does make it easier for me to remember when I'm actually, once the foundations are done, what I was actually planning to put in those spaces. And I decided here that we weren't going to put a wall between the infirmary and the morgue, because you don't have to. It doesn't have to be enclosed by walls, so you can actually just designate this is the morgue portion and this is the That noise is really bad. And this is the hospital portion. So that was actually quite nice. So I thought, well, you only need one entrance then, and this is going to be minimum security. So I'm hoping we're not going to have as many troubled souls as we've got in our maximum, which they just seem to be naughty all the time. And this is me planning out, because that's 5, that's for the nursery, because it has to have a serving table, it has to have a table and a bench, and it has to have a crib and a play mat. I knew there was a mat of some kind. It's not a prayer mat. Which one is that? So that's me there planning out the nursery, which we're going to need, with the family cells and everything else, and putting in the door. And then it did take me a while to sort of decide what to put in that little intervening space. My first thought was I could put a laundry. You see me dithering, little green square going everywhere. And I was thinking, well, we can put the laundry and the cleaning cupboard in there. And I was trying to think maybe I could put the common room in there. And yeah, it did take me quite a lot of dithering to figure out what I wanted. And I actually went back here to my naughty ward, as I like to call it, to see what facilities I had in there, to remind myself how many facilities I needed to put in here. And then it was, I think eventually I went with actually making it for visitors, but I did start off, as you can see, well, I made it the yard first of all, as I thought, well, that could be a little outdoor space, because I don't like to have my yard right by the fence out. So I thought, well, that will do as a yard, because that can be pretty much any shape as long as it is within the minimum, which I think is 5 by 5, if I'm not mistaken. And so then I went back to this as a reference, because this has, it's pretty self-contained. So I wanted to have a look, see what else I needed to put into this. And I think this is where I was like, oh, hang on, I can actually make this into the visitors area. And there we go. The thought process is there. And I was showing off, it can have those booths all across there, and then they can have the visitors, so they can be inside the cell block and still see the visitors coming through. They don't often path the way you want them to path, but I think if I do all of the planning, so I make it sort of access only on the one side, and make it the minimum security on the other side, it should work. And then I was trying to work out what I needed for. Yeah, this is where I wanted to make a corridor. I didn't make it wide enough, and then I tried to get rid of it, and I did it wrong. And I was like, deep breaths, and okay, now the corridor's wide enough. I did make a point here that a corridor doesn't have to be too wide. It can be one wide. That's ample. I just, as a preference, like them to be too wide. No idea why I prefer it. It's the same reason in other games where I prefer the ceilings to be taller than other people do. It is just a personal preference. So I'm not going to say there's any major motivation. Oh, if you don't do it like this, it's really, really bad. It's not. And this is me now planning out the kitchen. As you know, it's got to have sinks, and it's got to have the fridges and the cookers. So that was pretty easy to work out. So that sort of gave me the height of the sort of next area in this wing. And I threw down a wall there, and I'm going to pop in a door eventually. Oh, that's it. Nice. And then it's to do the canteen. So obviously back to objects, and to do the serving tables, and to put in the table and the 2 benches on either side. So that's my usual 3 by 4. And well, eventually. And to me, that just felt like the canteen was a little too small. And I thought, yeah, what I ended up doing was just putting in more tables and derping that, as always. Yeah, whoa! I'm watching it now and I'm like, oh no! Let's sigh. Unfortunately, this is just planning, so it's not too bad. Oh, there's so much noise going on outside today. What is it about today that we have to have all these noisy things? Oh, I am sorry. And this is where I decided this can be our cleaning cupboard and the laundry. And it's kind of nice to put the laundry there because we're going to have to bring plumbing here for the sinks. So to have it, on the same line, to bring the plumbing across there would be quite convenient. And then I think I went to the top to try and see what I was going to do with the family cells, because since my previous derp with the family cells, and then I thought, well, I better make sure I know what I'm doing. So I did some writing, like, yay, me writing, and then like, no, I didn't write that very well. No, can't put the other one in. Okay, let's try something else. Yay! And pretty, a laundry and a cleaning cupboard, just in case I forget. And this is a nice thing actually with having the cleaning cupboard where I've derped with the tables and the serving tables, because I can just make the cleaning cupboard one block bigger. Ta-da! And so here I was looking to see what I needed for the family cell, doubting myself so much, because I know I messed up before, because I made it, 2x2 instead of 4x4. And so now there I am, carefully counting and like, oh, that's nice. That works out rather well. And I don't want to do too many family cells, because as you can see, it does influence your capacity. So I was thinking, well, I want to make provision for it, obviously, but I don't want to over provide for it. So I think I settled on just doing 2. I did have a little bit of an internal debate and a sort of hum and a ha and a hooty ha. But yes. And then I was like, okay, because what was it that I wanted to put there? I know that those I was planning to be the solitary cells, and I think that little square there was going to be my common room for them. So these are my little mini solitary cells. Squidge them all in there in the corner. Why not? Because they're mini baddies. It's not a punishment if you don't feel it. Oh dear, I'm so mini. And now I can hear the dog licking himself. I hope you guys can't hear that. You probably can. Probably sounds disgusting. Blip, 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 blip. And this is where I was going to put the yard, where I was explaining I didn't want it near the fence. Yeah, I'm just reminding myself there that it's an outdoor area, so I don't close it all in. And I'm trying to I do another reference check here to make sure that I've got everything that I need and what sizes the cells need to be. And as always, I do things from the wrong side angle. And here I am counting off my cells, and I'm telling you in advance, it doesn't work out. But if I'd have tried it from the other side first, it would have been better. And there you go, see. Goes me. That didn't work. Goes my brain. Aren't you glad, really, that you didn't have to go through all these thought processes the first time? Now you're just getting my commentary on those thought processes. Instead of going, oh, Tashlan, don't do that. And so here we go. And what I do end up doing is I actually make the common room just that little bit bigger, which, if I'd have started from the left-hand side of the first right-hand side, I could have done that and saved myself an awful lot of effort and an awful lot of time. But, I don't. I always do things the hard way first. That's just me. La la la. And so then I'm trying to work out where I'm going to put the next lot. I'm going to do a corridor. Yes. One, two, three, and then no, one, two, three, 1, 2, 3. That's it. Yes. I'm cheering myself on. This is a very strange feeling. And that's when I expanded then the yard, because why not? And then get going. And of course now this cell block's kind of shaping up rather nice, and I did realize at about this point that just that small amount of cells there would be total mess up would be enough to actually get us our cell block C. There is when I'm thinking about it, there is a cell block D, but I think that's raising it to 250. Which I think we will leave until we do our next prison. Because this one's a medium. We'll actually bump ourselves up a notch to try out the large. And I think what we will do is we will add in some other difficulty levels as well. Because you can add in things like you can change the heating and all this kind of thing. So, I kind of like that we're bumping up the intensity every time we do this. So I think that's where we're going to go with the next one. But for now, we are planning this new cell block. And there does come a little point where it's a sort of awkward shape, sort of walkway from where all the facilities are into the actual cells themselves. And I had a little bit of a debate with myself about it, going, oh, not sure if I like this, either me wiggling around, not sure if I like this corridor thing. And I thought, well, actually, I'm not averse to it. It's not a bad thing that they've got a little bit of space to mill about in. So I thought, well, it's not perfect. It's not exactly fitting, but it'll do. And so there I am, sort of looking, scanning things, making sure everything's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And so then I decide I'm going to build, and then I wonder, do I have enough money? I'm going to wonder, look, money. So I sell some shares. So, yay, I have money. And then construction begins. Way! And I think, I'm going to watch carefully before I say this. No, I'm going to jump out there. I actually put this together quite well. I thought it through, and I carefully put it all so it was just 3 rectangles. And I didn't miss. Look! Na-na! And then it's getting my jail door. I'm going to put in the jail door. And for some reason I had to expand the objects even though the jail door was already visible. And then take it off pause and let them go for it. And of course this is the one thing that, because I'd already had them assigned a lot of things, and this is where I'm looking at the power supply and thinking, that's like really close to going on me. So I threw in a few more capacitors, and I also put them on the corners. I'm not entirely sure if it works. I don't see any reason why it doesn't work, but I'm not sure that it does. If anybody does know, let me know in the comments. That would be interesting. And so I'm like, oh, there's obviously a tunnel there. Why aren't they finding it? But I've already done a shakedown, and I didn't know what else I could do. So I was just checking that I haven't missed anything out, trying to see if, what all's going on. And I was also trying to find a way to stop losing money. And this is where I'm going through, and I fire a few people. There you go. See, fire a few guards. I think I took it down from 49 to 40. Trying to find ones that weren't actually doing jobs, and that did bring my losses down a fair amount, but not enough, which was kind of annoying. Like I say, I do sort of cotton on that where your expenses come in. You've got your staff expenses, you've got prison uniform expenses, you've got your guard uniforms and all this sort of thing expenses, but also what you have, and I think I fired a couple of chefs as well. It's like really mean of me. I think I fired some workers as well. I can't remember now, but we'll see. I'm looking, yeah, and I mistakenly fired the accountant. There we go. I was debating it. Do we need her? Nah, we don't need the accountant, do we? What do we need the accountant for? See, dither, boom, goes the accountant. Then I can't look at the finance and valuation. It goes grey. Oops. That's when I realised, oh dear, I want to hire an accountant. So I go back to hire my accountant, and I can't because it exceeds my daily expenses. And then I realised I've got sniper towers, but no snipers. So they're not really very effective. Oh dear. So it was a realisation. There you go, it exceeds daily budget. No, you can't have an accountant. I'm like, oh no. It's such a tragedy. What am I to do with myself? Oh dear, what a mess. So fire a few more staff. Still haven't cottoned on that it's my programs that need changing. I've managed to put myself, as you can see, I'm doing firing chefs. Look at this. Oh, horrendous. So I can get my accountant back. And there we go. Whoops, get the accountant back. Don't fire the accountant. That's never the best idea. And then, oh, look at this. Blood and guts in the workshop. No. So a bit of fisticuffs there in the workshop. Oh, Lissai. And danger increasing. Most of the prisoners are suppressed. Those armed guards are doing their job. And every time I sort of think, and this was something that I was saying as well, is that the more challenges that this throws up to me as the architect to solve, the more I'm thinking that when we actually come into this prison to now try and escape it, the harder it's going to be. So it's kind of like playing chess against yourself, but with having a buddy prompting you, well, have you tried that? So it's kind of, we're going to be pitting ourselves against ourselves, but the game is throwing up these challenges for us so that we're kind of, they can get out that way. Well, we have to stop that. So, when the reverse happens is we're going to have to then try and subvert everything we've put into place. So the harder it is for us while we're building it, the more interesting it's going to be when we try to escape. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's nice, make it as hard as you possibly can, and then you've got to overcome your own obstacles, challenge yourself. And so this is me cottoning on to the fact that it's the programs that are costing me a lot of money. So I start whittling down on how many of these I've got. So I cancel a few, and you can see immediately my daily cash flow straight up, and it's like, duh. Light bulb. So yes, and so I went through a few of the programs and just took down a few of them. I mean, I'd like to be able to run all of those programs, but it comes down to how much can we afford, and I'd rather have security than them having programs that they're not utilizing, which is why I pared down on the ones that didn't have it wasn't clearly saying, oh, so and so's interested, or there's 5 interested, and all this kind of thing. So that's something to bear in mind if you're doing your own prison, is that it definitely will become about how much your programs cost, and do you want to beef up security or have more programs. You do have to make these decisions, and it is a delicate balancing act, and I'm not entirely sure that I've got the balancing act as it should be, but it's fun to work it out and trying to find what your optimum level is, and in a way it makes it a bit more realistic. I mean, as anybody who's ever had to balance their own budgets will know that you can't have it all your own way. You have to make some compromises. So it's nice to have this that challenges you in that way, to try and find your own optimum and to go up against all these challenges. So this is where I decide that this bottom electrical doodad power station, electrical doodad. I can think of the words, that thing, the ka-ching thing, was actually had enough power for me to power that cell block rather than using the other one. So I went with that, put in the cables. I don't think I put in any of the plumbing because it's about now that I realised I'm running out of time. But if you have a look at my income, it's now at 2,400, where it was at negative 2,000 before. So shutting down a couple of those programs really had a good effect. And I'm not entirely sure, but I think I do go back and actually start rehiring staff. Yeah, and I hired, what do I think of? Snipers! I don't think cooks. No! Snipers! Oh, yes! Let's go for snipers! So, yes, I think I ended up hiring 4 snipers. I think I hired 5 and then fired one. Because that's the most economic way to do it, of course. But yes, we now have snipers as well. And there we go. I go into staff and I realise I've got too many snipers, so I fire one. Yeah, me and priorities. So good, I tell you. So yes, so I did a lot of sort of budget balancing while I'm waiting for everything to build, because even though I've got it on full speed, we've given them a lot to do. We gave them a lot to do the last time, and we've given them a lot to do this time. So they're working as hard as they possibly can, and those dogs are still sniffing that tunnel, which we can't find. Oh dear. And then we got some new prisoners, and I didn't even bother to check them. I was like, oh, new prisoners, I don't care. It was just ching, more money came in. And yes, and then I was pretty much saying, well, we'll wait for this to tick over. And then I was like, but that's boring. But there you can see the money, minus 1,350 just on the prison reform and all this kind of stuff. So it's expensive. You don't have to put in any of that. I've done prisons where you don't. You just lock them up and you can put them in little cells like my little solitary cells are, and they just have to put up with it. But yes, that's the nice thing about this, is you get to choose what sort of facility you run. And me, mine's a bit Club Med-ish, just a little. And I did actually, I think I made some, we got early prisoner release reward, and I did notice I made a nice profit with using the shop. So they're using the little concession area there, which I was quite pleased with, because I've never actually done a shop before. So it's nice to see that it's working all tickety-boo, no problem. So yes, the overall temperature of the prison is low to middling. Certain times of the day it goes up and then up. 2 deaths, 2 people died. I'm like, what? When? How? It's like, okay. These little so-and-sos, they will have a go at each other every now and then. Not much I can do about it. Just pausing to have a drink. And yeah, we've got about a couple of minutes left on the recording, and I'm pretty much just trying to assess what the danger level is, watching it go down and waiting for everything to be built. So there isn't really much more that I can comment on. I don't do many more changes here. So what I will do is I will sign off. And again, I'm going to apologize that I'm having to sort of record the sound separately, but these technical issues happen, and there's a little bit of a perfectionist in me, not much, a little bit. So I thought that you deserve the best audio. I'm not going to just put out any old rubbish. I'm trying to do quality output for all of you. I think that you deserve my best because you give me your best. So this is why I'm doing it this way, and I know it's a bit annoying, and it'll be annoying when I do the Creativerse as well, because I'm going to have to do that as well. Both recordings foggled up on me beautifully, so meh. So a little bit of extra work for me, but you peeps, you're so worth it. So I will leave you just watching this. I'll put the doodly 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 music, and I will say from Charlie the dog, Puddon Anpye the pussycat. I just looked at Puddon now, and he's completely belly up, and his little paws are all curled up. He looks so adorable. Just had to say that. So Charlie the dog, Puddon Anpye the pussycats, and from me, Tashlan. You know we love you loads. Peace out, peeps.